I'm Pam Hait, and I'm the co-author with my granddaughter, Estelle Cohen, of a new children's book, The Story of Camelback Mountain. And the book is brilliantly illustrated by Sebastien Millon, a very well-known, nationally well-known author who happens to also live in Arizona. The story of the book is the story of a little princess who's given a camel by her grandfather. And its camel has a very, very special mission in life, and so does the princess. And when you read about the story to your child, or if you're an old enough child to read it yourself, you'll get the whole piece of the story. But the backstory, I think, is even more interesting, or just as interesting. This book is written as collaborated, really to do what we thought we'd done many, many years ago, which was to save our mountains from development. Years ago, Barry Goldwater, very famous senator, saved Camelback Mountain with a big promotional campaign. But in the intervening years, construction techniques have changed, and now the undeveloped, very high up and very steep parcels can be developed. And the point of this book really is to raise some awareness and also a little money to help save those mountains, so that the mountain at the top of Camelback Mountain and all the mountains in our valley stay as beautiful and pristine as they are. So all the sales of this book support the Paradise Valley Mountain Preserve Trust. And we all did this as a pro bono effort because we so believe in our desert and we so believe in the special landscape that we are so fortunate to enjoy here in our valley.
Can you describe the impact of your granddaughter?
Oh, my granddaughter is amazing. So she lives in Connecticut, and she was 14 when she co-authored it with me. And when she and her twin brother were small, they'd come to visit and they'd ask me about Camelback Mountain. So I sort of made up this little story about it. So when the idea of doing a book, a children's book, I called her up and said, Estelle, would you want to be my co-author? And she said, absolutely. So she sort of took over. She said, it's the great-grandfather, not the grandfather. She wanted to make sure, because my granddaughter is a very strong woman, that the princess would be very strong and wouldn't need anybody's help, that she could solve it all herself. She also helped me whenever I'd sort of get stuck and think, well, how did this happen or how did that happen? She would quickly do it. And the proof of the pudding is we sat down and wrote it in one evening. Then when it came to an illustrator, me being an older grandmother, was looking for a more traditional illustrator. And one of the neighbors in Stone Canyon, our neighborhood that's been so supportive of this book, she said, oh, I think I found your illustrator. And she brought these extraordinary pictures that Sebastien did. And my granddaughter happened to be visiting. And we said, well, what do you think of this? And she said, oh, Gani, because that's my name, Gani, that's it. That's perfect. That's what kids will want. So the influence and the importance of her as a co-author cannot even begin to be described.
Well, that is fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming out to Sibley's West and for sharing the story of Camelback Mountain with our guests.
Thank you very much for inviting me.